Do you know there is a golden saying in running? Too far, too fast, too soon.
I was
Will
doing.
lead to injuries. Either of these three or a combination.
I was doing. I think all three of those. When I saw the date, I was like a little bit felt sentimental because it was just a weeks after his passing that I came to know about this, and I was like, I felt like I wanted to do this for him. I don't know if there is afterlife or anything like that. It's of course, once the guy is gone, it's only his memories that are there with him. So I wanted to honor his memory and run on his name. I am Venky, a working professional in IT as well as an amateur masters athlete and a coach for endurance sports. You are listening to the Working Athlete podcast. Here, I talk to working athletes from all walks of life and experts from various sports to provide you with inspiration, training tips, and lifestyle advice. If this is something that interests you, I have a small request from you. Please subscribe to the channel on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts from. You can also let me know what you like and what you would like to listen to more of by commenting in the comment section on YouTube. I promise to do my best to improve with each episode and bring you the best content that helps you and me get better each day. It has been 3 years since this podcast started, and miraculously, I managed to put out an episode every single week of these 3 years. After 3 years, I have taken the recording out of my tiny home studio and out into a new recording space, courtesy of a kind friend. With the help of another good friend, Dipankar, I was setting up the space last week and we wanted to do a test recording. What could be the topic of this test recording we were talking about? And some of you know that I have done my first official half marathon a few weeks ago at the Bangalore Marathon on 8th of October. So for the first episode in the new recording space, my good friend Dipankar Paul interviewed me about my running journey. We talked about my weight loss journey and the start of my fitness journey with running almost 15 years ago. We touched upon why I cut short my running career before what was supposed to be my first marathon back in 2010 and why I decided to run a half marathon this time around. We talked about all the mistakes I did back then and the new mistakes I did this time, as well as the new learnings I had because of all these mistakes while successfully finishing my first official half marathon. It was fun getting interviewed on my own podcast, and I sincerely thank DP for being such a great friend and being there always when I needed him. I hope you enjoy this podcast as much as I enjoyed sharing the journey. This episode is brought to you by the Bike Affair. If you are in search of a one stop destination that caters to all your cycling needs, our today's sponsor, the Bike Affair, is the perfect place to check out. I have known the founders of the Bike Affair, Krish and Gokul, personally for nearly 15 years now. In fact, my first century ride was with Krish back in 2008. They are both exceptional human beings and entrepreneurs that believe in providing exceptional service to their customers, and it shows. With over 14 years of experience, the Bike Affair has established itself as a trusted source offering honest advice and exceptional service. They are offering a special treat for the listeners of this podcast. You can enjoy a 10% discount on your first order by using the code BikeyVenky on their website. So if you are in Hyderabad, visit their store in Kondapur, or if you are anywhere else in India, shop online by using the link thebikeaffair.com. I will leave the link in the show notes. Now, enjoy the podcast.
Good morning, friends. Today on this podcast, the Working Athlete podcast, we have our own BikeyVenky, the master of the one who started this podcast, the one who has interviewed probably about 200 athletes
No,
or maybe 100.
150 episodes.
Okay, 150 episodes. And today on this podcast, let's have a discussion about BikeyVenky and about his recent achievements in running.
Right. There are.
Okay, before you say something, first I would like to ask you. First, I would like to congratulate you on your first half marathon.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Next, why don't you tell us about your first, I believe your first 10K or first half marathon you attempted probably about 10, 12 years back? Was it in US or somewhere?
Yeah.
Why don't you tell us about that?
Right. So back in 2010, 2009, 2010, I was in the US on work. And see, basically, I started running to kind of get better at badminton or in the initial fitness journey that I had.
So, someone told you that running is a good cross training for badminton?
So what happened, it was like this. So in 2008 February, I was 92 kilos, right?
Congratulations.
You know that, I think. But see,
We should show a picture of you on YouTube with that 92 kilo weight if you have.
yeah, I'll try. But see, the when I was 92 kilos, basically at that time, it was my birthday, February 16, 2008. We went to Prasad's IMAX to kind of celebrate my birthday. And there is this weighing machine there. So, you know, the weighing machine there showed me that I was 92 kilos and I was 20 kgs overweight. And the BMI was showing that uh, I was bordering on obese or even obese. It was saying that it is not a news to me, so to speak, because I know that I was like overweight. More than that, I was suffering from a lot of my bronchitis issues, asthma, and all that. So every month I used to fall sick, and it was like a week of suffering from wheezing issues, bronchitis, and all that. Couple of weeks of trying to recover from that, and 1 week of feeling okayish and all that. And then, so this was like all through my life, basically.
Like basically from your young age?
Basically from my childhood, I have been suffering from this asthma.
And you were
wheezing
obese
issue.
from your child?
I was always a healthy, chubby kid.
Okay, healthy and chubby. Okay,
Healthy looking kid.
healthy and chubby looking. Yeah, well fed from a good family, good to do family. That Indian mentality that you shouldn't, if you're lean and thin, you are not being fed well. So you were being fed really well by your family members.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that was, my state. I've always been a chubby kid and healthy looking, but never healthy because I always
From outside healthy looking, but from inside not healthy.
yeah. So I've always suffered from wheezing issues, bronchitis, and asthma as a kid as well. My earliest memory from my childhood is my mom carrying me on herself and running around to hospitals. That is my earliest memory. And
Like how old were you that time?
I was like maybe 3-4 years or whatever,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
And along with that, it's also the nighttime not being able to breathe, not being able to sleep.
That's from childhood?
From childhood. So that is always been the case.
By the way, I must tell you, your mom is awesome. Very sweet.
Yeah, thank you. I'll tell her that. But that has been my growing up. That's my earliest memories. I know she used to spend sleepless nights because she was not able to help me with my breathing. If I'm not able to breathe, I'm not sleeping and I'm not letting her sleep. And this went on for a long time. And as I grew up, also it did not change. I married, and it's just that instead of my mom, it was my wife that was
Okay, let me interrupt you over here to understand the process a bit more. So, even when you were growing through your teens and after post teenagers, were you in any kind of active activities that could help you with your conditions, or were you just a sedentary person during that entire time?
I was never really active. I was, uh, uh, even as a even in college when I was playing cricket or something, it I used to bat. Maybe most of the times I used to have a runner, and in field I would have a substitute runner. So it's like exact,
Okay,
the
I can picturize it. Yeah, the fat guy can't run. Okay, so let's put a substitute runner for him.
obviously. He's a decent, batter, so they didn't really drop me from the team, but they kept runner, substitute runner for me. So I'm never really active physically, right? So I've I've tried losing weight multiple times and all that because of superficial, I wanted to look good and all that. But my love for food meant that I never really, stuck to it. It always came back, right?
Right.
But coming to the health aspect, right? The uh, it kept continuing that my bronchitis, my asthma kept on occurring, very frequently, and this was a continuous cycle of one, falling sick, trying to recover from that wheezing and bronchitis for a couple of weeks, then feeling okay for a week, and then the cycle continues. It's like it was almost a monthly affair, right? uh, that only the person changed from my mom when I was young to now my wife, who was having sleepless nights when I was struggling to breathe and coughing through the night and stuff like that. But what changed was this, on that day, 2008, February 16th, when I saw that.
How old were you that time?
31.
Okay.
Yeah. So I was 31, and I went. So at that time, when I looked at that weighing scale showing me that I was overweight and was obese, one thing that struck me was at that time my wife was carrying.
Okay.
With Naman was was conceived, and she was carrying, and I looked at her, and this thought came to my mind saying, I am struggling to take care of myself. Right, I am falling sick all the time. I'm not able to take care of my own health. If I am not able to take care of myself, how am I going to take care of another, human being? And my family, how am I going to take care of my family? That thought came to my mind that day, and that really kind of came as a jolt for me.
Right.
And that became the thought that said, okay, I need to do something about this. So on the way back from there, on the same day, we went and bought a badminton racket.
Okay.
Because in my apartment, there, it was this kind of circular flats, and in between, there was a small
Open
court,
area.
a small open area where people used to play badminton.
And this
And
is all in US.
no, no, this was in Hyderabad.
Oh, okay.
I was living in Hyderabad at that time.
Okay.
Um, And so I joined the uncles playing there. I'm now saying uncles because they were probably the same age as we are now, as I am now. I should not to say,
Yeah.
you are
There's
still
15 years difference. Yeah,
correct,
right.
correct.
Yeah.
So now I joined those uncles at that time to playing the badminton. Within 5 minutes, I was huffing and puffing and I was out. I was just sat down and I couldn't really move. So, but the thing was, I went back the next day. I started. I showed up the next day. Maybe I lasted 6 minutes instead of 5 minutes. I showed up the next day again. I lasted a little bit more. So I kept showing up, and that kind of meant that um, I did not give up because I had the reason, I had the why by that time, right? Because I wanted to show up for my kid.
Or we can say also the why was strong enough this time. You always had a why, some kind of a reasoning why, like you wanted to
Look good
look
instead
good,
of
something, but they were not strong enough
correct.
reason for you. So you needed a strong enough why that could get you on a much healthier pathway.
Correct. So that became my why, and I kept showing up each day. And so that was the so while I was joining the badminton, now how the running came in, right? So they used to around the apartment before the game, they used to run a little bit, jog a little bit as a warm up,
Right.
right? So I started
They means along with the uncles.
along with the uncles. So the uncles used to do it.
And
So
uncles were like about their 45, 50s.
correct,
Okay.
correct. The same age as me. No.
As you and me. No, as you. You're still an uncle to me. Okay.
Right. So I was doing that. I joined them basically to kind of warm up. I also kind of improves the aerobic fitness, right? It also helps as a warm up, also kind of improves your ability to stay in the court longer and all that. So that is how I started jogging, running. um,
With your 90 kilos weight.
Correct, correct.
Okay.
So that's how it started. And I kept going on. I kept going, showing up every day, doing, that. And I also started doing yoga around the same time.
Yeah.
Right. So I kept doing all these and also took care of the portions I was, eating. Like I did not eat humongous portions like I used to. I cut down on that. So the result of that was I kept getting better at each of those things that I was doing. I was getting better at badminton. I was able to play continuously for an hour, hour and a half, 2 hours without getting tired. And I was running 5 kilometers, 10 kilometers. My sister used to live 5 kilometers from where I used to live. I used to go run to her place and then, come back. So it became a 5 kilometers and then break and chat with her, eat something or something, and then run back to my place. So that became a little bit of a common workout for me. And I kept doing yoga in the mornings. It helped my flexibility.
And you were doing a regular work, office work during this entire period.
Yeah,
as well.
yeah.
Okay.
So I was spending at least an hour, hour and a half before work to do all this and then go to work, right? So that was how I start. I mean, during this 8 months of period, time, I lost 16 kilos.
Okay.
So that 8 months or period became my kind of transformation journey. So that was my initial transformation journey back, exactly 15 years now. October 2008. By October 2008, I lost, and from 92, I came down to
78.
76.
Wow.
Right.
Okay.
So that that much I have lost, and obviously I was feeling much lighter. I was much fitter. I was running. I was doing these, running to my sister's place and coming back and all that. Right. So that is how my introduction to running happened. Right.
Right.
And um, in the process, all my wheezing issues, my asthma issues disappeared.
Totally disappeared?
Totally disappeared.
So you didn't have to take any inhalers and no medications, nothing?
Nothing. So, till that point of time, I was visiting all sorts of hospitals. Nothing seemed to have helped. All the inhalers and all those things were giving temporary relief, but really not helping, in a major way.
So this was in October of 2008.
Correct.
And when was Naman born?
So, Naman was born in April 2008.
Oh, okay.
So
Okay.
by the time I of October 2008, he was 6 months.
Right.
23rd October 2008, he was 6 months old, and that day I went and bought my first cycle.
Ah,
So my first cycle, I went and bought a Hero Hawk after extensive research of months and months,
makes sense.
because the thought was I needed to do I needed to continue doing this because now I have a kid that I needed to take care of. I need to spend a little bit more time with him, take him for walks and all that. So I was thinking, see, if I'm spending this much time doing workouts, and if I'm spending and I have to go to work and all that, maybe with the kid, I might not be able to do, sustain the exercise for long. So that's why I thought, if I include something that I do regularly, which is commuting, um, uh, if we take that as an exercise by cycling to work, that would save some time, is what my thought was.
Right.
So I bought a cycle, and that totally, as you say,
It's made you what you are today.
yeah, it totally changed my life.
Yeah.
Right. So um, the 7 kilometers of commute one way, two both ways, 14 kilometers was not enough. So I started, doing these weekend trips. Going to Gandipet and coming back, going to these are all.
And you would do it all alone by yourself or go with a
I
group?
would. There was this. I think it started alone, but I found an online community, Hyderabad Bicycling Club.
Right.
There used to be these expats, and there used to be these friends. Krish Basu who is the owner of the Bike Affair now. One of the sponsors of the podcast as well.
That's
He was my he was my first partner. He was my ride partner for my first century ride back in, I think, November, December 2008, right? So that's how I, slowly the weekend rides started. It basically was like destination rides, go to Chilkur Balaji and come back, go to Gandipet and come back, go to Tank Bund and ride around Tank Bund and come back. So
right.
these were like, weekend trips. Basically, it was not like any speed based or distance based. It's a kind of destination based fun activities. There used to be a meetup group,
Right.
and
And
I
a lot
used
of eating and breakfast stops.
yeah. It was like
Your favorite part of it.
yeah, of course, of course.
And photography probably a bit.
Yeah.
Okay.
I used to take a lot of pictures, of course.
So did your running take a backseat during these when you took up cycling?
It did. So
Okay.
it did take a bit of a backseat, but I kept cycling and to kind of come back to the running part, right?
When did you start back into running again?
So when I went to the US in 2009, middle of 2009,
Okay.
I went to the US for work. So that is when I mean I kept running on and off, like I was saying, 5 kilometers, 10 kilometers, nothing major, right? I kept running, but cycling kind of took more importance. And when I went to the US, I built a bike for myself. I started riding there, but it was, yeah, where I was in US, it was a lot of months were winter months.
Right.
So you can't really ride all the time,
Right.
right? So, but um, I think what predominantly got me back into running was um, in uh, in my workplace. There used to be lunchtime runs.
Okay.
Okay, so because
Lunchtime runs, like you used to do the lunchtime runs, or there was a group going for lunchtime runs?
there was a group going for lunchtime
Oh, from your company or outside?
from the company.
Oh,
So I was working for
impressive.
a US client, right,
Right.
in Vermont. So the why lunchtime runs, because that was the only time that was feasible for
Okay. When it was warm or bright enough, warm enough.
correct, because it's all like very less daytime
Yes.
and all that. So only middle of the day is a reasonable time for them to work out.
So you go to the office in your office just dress up, and then you change in the office to your running setup, go do your run, and then go back to the changing room, and then get back to the office setup, and then get back to work. Is that?
Yeah, that's how it worked.
Okay.
So basically they had showers and everything in the office.
Yeah, those things can be very employee friendly
Correct.
to promote any kind of active
Correct.
lifestyle. Yes.
So the beautiful thing is, it used to be, we our office used to be on a hill, and there were marked trails all around the in the office, and in the snow also we used to kind of hike. So funnily, the first time I showed up for a hike during the lunchtime, I had this heavy set coat because of course it was cold, it was right. So I showed up like that, and it was like within 5 minutes I was sweating buckets within that heavy coat,
Right.
right? And then the Rob and Dave, these were Rob Levazer. This guy was the guide. Basically, he was the one who designed those a lot of those trails. So he told me, you should not come with these heavy, coats. You should look at getting layers, because that will it will kind of wick the sweat out, and but it will also kind of keep you warm
And
when
you're
you
probably a bit drier as well.
correct. So he introduced me to the concept of layering,
Layers,
right? So the next day I went and bought dry fit stuff from Walmart or something, and I that's how I kind of got back into running. So that is that those lunchtime hikes and runs uh, kind of got me back into running.
Okay.
So the during that time, uh, that group kind of were signing up for they have this Vermont Marathon.
And when does this happen?
Yeah, I think every May.
Okay.
Every May.
Right.
So it was scheduled for May 2010, right?
Right.
So I joined these guys for
So you
running.
signed up for a marathon or a?
So I signed up for a marathon.
The full
Be-
marathon 42.2.
Correct,
Okay.
correct. So I signed up for marathon along with these guys because they were experienced runners. They were training for it. I heard about the marathon from them, and of course, I wanted to do it because I am running with them. So why not? Right? I didn't really understand how demanding it was.
Yeah, the first marathon, no one really ever understands, expects what's gonna happen, what's expected of the body, what's training's required for it. Everyone just jumps into it, and then after that, probably, yeah, we'll know from you what happened.
Right. So I just signed up. I kept running with them. Right. So these lunchtime runs were happening. So obviously we put to. I mean, with the help of them, I put together a training plan, all that. So I was really enjoying these runs. It was full on winter by the time I started December, Jan, and all that. So I was running. So I kept doing these long runs in the weekends.
Okay.
Rides and long runs in the weekends. I still remember I was running in the snow, -8 degrees and all that. During that time, and the first time I did my 21 kilometers as part of my long run, I was ecstatic.
Oh, you had already done a half marathon back in 2010.
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay.
I mean, it was part of training.
Training towards a full marathon.
Correct. It was part of the training. I still remember I came back from the run. I was super ecstatic. Maybe I took 2.5 hours or whatever, but I was super, super. I mean, that was the first time I experienced what all these people call runners high, right? So I experienced that runners high. I came back. I didn't even change. I sat on my computer and I typed out a poem. I wrote a poem on running.
Okay.
So that I was so happy in doing that. I have done this 21 kilometers. I was super happy about that, and I wrote a poem, and I'll probably link it to in the show notes for if people are interested. But that it was that happy.
Do you remember the words of the poem?
No.
Okay. It would have sounded awesome if you would have been able to, speak it out and put it in words
No,
and the emotions.
I'll probably read it as
Read it through and put it somewhere in
yeah.
between.
I will add it on the podcast itself, probably for the listeners also, right?
Yes.
I'm interrupting the interview again and including a reading of the poem as Dipankar ordered. So here it goes. It is titled A Note to the Running Soul. One rhythmic step after the other, one fueling breath after the other, moving ahead one step at a time, living one moment at a time. With flowing feet and thumping heart, listening to the mind as thoughts dart, discovering more of oneself in the solitude, moving ahead with the joy and pain in gratitude. Savoring the flowing brook and the still lake, the barking dog that stirred awake, the frolicking kids in the lush green lawn, the glory of the sky at dusk and dawn. Taking in the sights and smells of the earth, living it up every moment and every breath. Lighting up the day with a smile on the face where there is ample reason to grimace. One rhythmic step after the other, one fueling breath after the other, moving ahead one step at a time, living one moment at a time. Dedicated to every runner out there. Now, back to the interview. So I was like that happy, right? So that happiness though did not last long.
Okay. How long? How many days or months or weeks?
So another weekend, and I've done another long run 2021, and third long run. was when I was going for another 21K, 24K or something like that. It was gradually increasing. I've halfway through the run, I started experiencing a knee pain on the left.
Okay.
So IT band pain. So I did not know at that time, but now I know that as an IT band pain. So that started, and I couldn't really run again. So I walked back some 12 kilometers or something
Right.
in that cold snow weather. Um, so so that was the end of it. That was end of my marathon training, because
Okay.
I mean I gave it a rest. I tried
Restarting.
restarting. I tried restarting, but anytime I went close to 10 miles, I think 16 kilometers or something like that, it came back.
Okay.
So I did not, but it was not.
And this was in the month of Feb, March,
Yeah,
Jan,
yeah,
March.
Feb, March.
Right.
So,
Yeah, because
but
cold doesn't definitely help with any kind of injuries as such.
but I was fortunately I was able to. There was no pain when I was cycling.
Okay.
So I continued to cycle, but I couldn't run.
Right.
So
Did you check with a doctor or just self-medicated
no
yourself?
self medication, I would think, right?
Okay.
That's
That's one of the things most athletes end up doing, the amateur ones who probably, I guess, just self-medicate by resting it, by taking some painkillers, and but they don't realize that if they go through a proper physiotherapy session, can help identify their weaknesses as well as recover faster from the injuries.
Yeah, so I did not know any of that. I took some advice from the experienced runners. They said rest. They suggested stretching, foam rolling, and stuff like that. I tried that. It helped a little bit, but really did not go away. It kept coming back. So I, after multiple tries of restarting, I gave up and said, okay, marathon is not happening. So that was end of that. But I kept running. Right?
Like shorter runs.
I kept shorter runs, but I kept cycling. I mean,
Like, so running was no more a major part of your schedule, but it was more of like, okay, I'm feeling like running, let's go for it. Was it like that or?
yeah, a little bit here and there, but
Right.
almost gave up on running. I just continued cycling because cycling didn't hurt me in any way, right? So that the IT band pain wasn't there while cycling, so I kept cycling. So that so that was end of my running career.
Right.
So whenever I started, whenever I after years and years of gaps, I would on a whim I would go for a 5K run, and
Do two, three of them and then get injured again.
not really injured, but I would because I was aerobically fit, I would go. I would
Full
take
gas.
not really full gas also, but there was no concept of building back slowly.
Right.
So I would go do a 5K or 10K. I wouldn't be able to walk for another week.
Right. So
Right?
that's called getting injured.
No, it's basically DOMS.
Okay.
The
Okay. Okay.
delayed onset of muscle soreness, right?
Right.
So because of that, I used to not be able to
Move
ginger
for a few
for a
days.
few days, right?
Penguin walk.
Correct. Correct. So that was the thing, right?
Yeah.
But in during pandemic, I kind of got back to running a little bit.
When was it? In 2020 or 2020?
2020, yeah.
Okay.
So I kept joining our good friend Senthil for runs around Kalkari Lake.
Yes. Yes.
Right?
Yeah, beautiful like it is.
Yeah, yeah. So during that time, I kind of started in a proper way. gradually, like
Right.
1 kilometer, 2 kilometers. I was talking to you also during that time, and
But then your runs, if I remember, they were again on and off. It was not as systematic and
no,
regular, correct?
it was not really very regular.
It was like whoever invites you, you just go for a run, and probably one day you feel like go for the run towards the nearby lake or the garden and just
Yeah, basically that. Cycling was predominantly the main thing again, and running was like it was not like I show up and then do a 10K, but it was also not yeah, very like structured training of sorts. It was like gradual increasing, but also once or twice a week kind of scenario, right? Um, but even then, when I kind of tried to increase, the IT band came back.
come back. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was like, right now, damn sure that this
Yeah.
was the running was not for me.
Yeah. You have told me that many times.
But during this time, I also did a few courses like physiotherapy course with peak performance. Yes, and I was also doing some strength sessions with stairs and all that. During which time I understood that um, it is actually not just foam rolling that will to
Strength training is also
right,
required.
strengthening, and the what is this
Glutes.
um, that not near the
Abductors.
no quickly interrupting the podcast to clarify. TFL was the word that I was looking for. The short for tensor fasciae lata. It is a muscle that we can find just below the waist bone, and the tightness of that and tight hips in general have been the root cause for my ITB injuries when it comes to running. Now back to the podcast. I don't remember that, but that you need to release that with the ball.
Yes.
Right? Right near the bone, your hip
But
bone.
correct. But
To
then
the
you
side.
don't. But if I'm not wrong, it needs to be released, but it's only needs to be released, or for that sake, any muscle tightness needs to be released if it is tight for that particular person.
Correct.
So it does not mean that everyone needs to release that.
No,
It
yeah,
was for
because
you.
no, for me it was the IT band
Was flaring
pain
up because of
because of that tightness,
Right.
right? So that releasing of that muscle was important, and of course strengthening was also very important
Right.
for dealing with the imbalances and stuff like that. So that during that period, all that a little bit of knowledge on those lines helped me deal with that pain.
So, what were the specific, like when you went through the physio sessions, they did an analysis on you, right? And they put you through various strength training regimes. What particular muscle groups that they really focus on for strength? Was it the glutes, the hamstrings, the calf, the core?
So it was, I mean, I did not go for IT band issue predominantly. So I went for strengthening, general strengthening.
Okay.
So I wanted to get stronger.
Basically, a functional strength build up.
Correct.
Right.
So that is what I signed up for, and I went for like about 6 months or something like that with stays, and it helped me, and it also gave me an understanding of various things like stretching and all those things that are needed post a workout. So I was doing that. So this time when I restarted, I wanted to back in again 20 end of 2022. I kind of restarted running.
Right.
Now with again gradually building up rather than jumping in for a 5K or 10K.
Okay, before we continue,
Mm.
if you wish to keep this on the podcast recording, it's up to you. But I believe you had a stronger, again, coming back to it, a stronger why. What kept you going into your marathon, towards your marathon or the half marathon goal? Was that big right to say?
Correct. I'll come to that. Yes,
Yes.
the reason why is also there, right? So, but
But tell me why, what was the why that in 2020, 2021, during the lockdown times or the initial COVID times, what was the why? Was it just because you were getting bored of cycling? Was it because you wanted to cross train? Was it because you wanted to get back to structured running? What was your why that time?
yeah, I mean, it was like I was not really. I think I was going through a little bit of, ups and downs in life in general.
Right.
A lot of issues, health, a lot of during pandemic time, actually,
I
lot of.
believe we lost some family members as well that time.
Correct. So
Okay.
all that was like I was dealing with a lot of
Were you going through depression that time?
yeah,
Okay.
most definitely. And I was talking to you,
Yes, you were.
on our bike. Our bike rides together were like more like therapy sessions.
I know,
Uh,
I know, I know, I know. Yeah.
Right? So I was talking to a few close friends. You were one of them. Arvind was one of them, and Che was one of them. So there were a few friends that I was talking to. I was and like I said, our bike rides were like more like therapy sessions.
Yeah, they are like therapy.
Yeah. So that those helped a lot. And during this time, I wanted to kind of uh, do something other than running to also give me that headspace, and that was the reason to kind of take up running again. um, I was running away from all these, depressive feelings,
Right.
predominantly, right? So, and I restarted,
So why was so I believe I understand for almost that I've known you since 2011, I guess, if I'm not wrong.
yeah.
Okay. So I believe we had a lot of cycling. We did a lot of cycling together, and cycling, for me personally speaking, it has been therapeutic. It has been the way out of depression. It has been way out from taking out my frustration, and to a certain extent with you as well. Okay. So, but why was the diversion towards running? Was it because it was more accessible without needing to spend so much time into going out and spending so much time into cycling? Was it the high amount level of exhaustion that you felt quicker in a shorter span of time? What was it that was taking you
Yeah,
into?
that's a very good question, because of course cycling is really helpful for me. It's been therapeutic for a long time, right? But the reason for getting out for a run instead of cycling was, I think, see, for a long time we were not able to cycle, like,
Together.
because of because of these lockdowns and all that. Group rides were not really
Happening, yes.
right?
And they are really therapeutic sessions when you're
Correct.
chatting with random people.
Correct.
Yeah.
So that was not happening. So running was something that was like easy to get out of, and then out of home, and then do and come back and kick. So it was a little bit of a safer activity, I've in that perspective, I guess, and something different, basically.
Okay.
And so I restarted that running, and I kept running on the days that I was strengthening.
Okay. So was it after the strength session or was it before the strength session?
I was predominantly running after the strength sessions.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
So that was happening. That kind of meant that I was doing 2-3 strength sessions a week.
Okay.
So mostly two. So I was running 2 times a week. and rest of the time I was cycling, 3 4 days of cycling, 2 days of strength and 2 days of same day running, right? That is what I and mostly kept it to 5Ks, nothing more than that. So that way the running kind of slowly came back into my life. And in April to coming back to you, the why you just mentioned, right? In April 2000, in April 2000, April of this year, April 2023, I lost one of my best friends.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you, the first, the
That must have been a big shock for you as well.
yeah. So remember the first, the very next day, I came to you.
Yes, you did. You came to my home.
I came to you and I spent the whole day with you.
Yes, you
we ran together around your flats for 5K or something we did together, and I spent the entire day with you, sharing those moments, right? So that
How long had you known this friend of yours?
so he was my friend from the time I was in 11th.
That's a very long time.
Yeah. So I mean, I say right in my Gmail account is hivenkat.d. D is that Deepu. D stands for Deepu. So we were in that
Very close. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, it's not like we talked every day or anything like that. Even after
You guys were there for each other.
right, yeah. Even after years of gap, when we spoke to each other, it was mm, it was as if we did not miss a day in between.
Yeah.
So when I heard about his he passing away, um, it was obviously a big shock for me. And um, sorry about it, but it was a big shock for me. And but in around the same time, why his demise had, let's say, in my running, restarting my running, was that a few friends from work were signing up around the same time for Bangalore Marathon.
Okay.
And the Bangalore Marathon is scheduled for October 8th.
Right.
And October 7th is Deepu's birthday.
Right.
So when I saw that date, I was like a little bit felt sentimental because it was just weeks after his passing that I came to know about this, and I was like, I felt like I wanted to do this for him. It's I don't know if there is afterlife or anything like that. It's of course, once the guy is gone, it's only his memories that are there with him. So I wanted to honor his memory and run on his name, mostly. So that is how I kind of ended up signing up for a half marathon. Right. So once I signed up, again, it was all about finding a plan. Uh, we had a couple of talks when I said I signed up. The first thing Shintil was saying is, "Okay, you are going to get injured." Right. So I was like, no, I'll try not to be injured. I'll make sure that I am releasing all the tightness, all the stretches and all that I'll take care of. And I'll also make sure that I am not doing too much too soon and all that, right? But of course, all the plans were there. I put myself a plan, and gradually increasing mileage, and 3 days a week, 4 days a week kind of plans. I kept a plan leading up to I when I signed up, I had like 15 weeks of training. So I put myself a 12-week plan with 3 weeks of base training kind of thing, and started running. Slowly from 2 days a week, I increased to 3 days a week, and by including a long run in the weekend. So the long run started with 6K, 8K, 10K, and like that, right? And I started because and during this time I was really strong on the bike as well. I was
Right.
doing my bike intervals, and I was aerobic fitness was top class. And since I was doing regular strength work in the gym, I was feeling strong on the runs as well. I was not hurting, the paces were increasing. But when things were going super well,
You become a bit more greedy, if I might say the right word.
yes, exactly.
Okay.
I became super greedy, and I was like, now when I started, I just wanted to finish a half marathon. Now I wanted to do a
Full marathon.
no, no, no. I wanted to
You was
do a sub to half
speed works. Okay.
speed. I went for a sub to marathon. So I did a test run of sorts at I think 5:27 pace or something
I remember
kilometer.
seeing that.
Right.
Yes.
So I did that, and without really too much of a problem, and I felt okay, this might be possible. I have 12 weeks to do this, so this might be actually possible. So this first 4 weeks of training went really, really well. Okay. And I was doing everything according to the plan. I was probably doing a little bit of more faster pace than you know I initially thought I would do. And that was a mistake because aerobically I was in top notch shape, as I was telling, right? Because I was really doing good long
Aerobic. Yeah.
rides and interval sessions on the bike. But I should have stuck to interval sessions on the bike and kept steady running on the trail.
Need not be. I would say you should have also not increased your pace, because when I was looking on, because I remember like after when you came and spent the whole day with me and
Right.
you ran, we ran around the apartment in Prestige, uh, and my around my home. We were running at 7:15 pace or something like that, if I'm not very wrong. 7 minute pace or something. And then I'm seeing after 1 month, you are like going sub six, like 5:30 pace. I'm like, this guy is on a path to get injured, but I don't want to poke my nose into that right
Yeah,
now.
when we were running, I think we were doing 6:30, 6:40 kind of pace.
6:40, 6:45 or something like that. We were
And then
working on cadence and things like that.
correct, correct. My cadence sucked, and I was taking tips from you for improving cadence and all that. But it was going great, of course, and I started intervals training, and I was like week of starting interval training. I overextended my stride, and I felt something in my right glute, and it was fine, at the end of the run I felt. And then the second day, the next day, I felt something on the lower back, a little twinge. I said, oh, okay, but it was fine. I continued to run and then stopped, and nothing after also. And then for the long run that week, I was joining our rocket, Gaurav Dwivedi, our good friend, and we planned for a 15 to 16K run. So I joined him midway. He had a 21K, 22K run. So I joined him for a run after he done his 5K. I joined him for the last 17K. So when I joined him, he already done a 5K run. By he was running a 6K pace. Usually when I start running, I do a 6.5, close to 640 pace, and then slowly increase, right? Because I joined him after 5K, I immediately was running a 6K pace, and immediately I could feel that discomfort that I felt earlier in the week, right? But it was very minor discomfort.
Yeah.
So if I knew better, I should have immediately stopped.
Do you know there is a golden saying in running? Too far, too fast, too soon
I was
will
doing.
lead to injuries.
I
Either
was.
of these three or a combination.
I was doing. I think all three of those.
You were already when looking at your Garmin, at your Strava data. I'm like, this guy is covering too much distances within the first 1 month. This guy is going too fast within the first 1 month. He's falling into all the categories. I'm just waiting. I'm just counting down. Okay, one day he will say he is done with, and then one fine day a call comes. What happens? Dude, you know what? I was like doing my run, and I have not been able to walk for the last 2 days. Was it like that?
Exactly that.
Okay.
So I completed the 17K with that minor twinge. But that minor twinge, when once I stopped, meant that I couldn't even take a step.
Right.
So I was totally royally tapped, and I couldn't walk for the next couple of days. I mean, uh, it was on my wife's birthday. We were supposed to go out. I was supposed to take the family out for lunch and movie and all that. Everything went down the drain, and I was bedridden. I was like, oh, yeah, I had to order the food from outside,
And next day you fed me chicken biryani. I remember that.
yeah. So that was like gone, right? And that meant, so 4 weeks went super well, and for the next 4 weeks I was hobbling. I was not able to walk properly. So after a week, I it was reducing, but still I wanted to be careful. I went to physio. I went to peak performance, and then got it checked with Ash, and then like he said it is not a proper injury. It was a strain, because it is reducing without any intervention. He gave me some strengthening workouts, and then said, you do this regularly, you should be fine. You should be able to resume running, slowly, but first get back on the cycle after a couple of weeks, right? And then see how it feels.
Right.
And so that's what I did. After a couple of weeks, I started cycling indoors, and then slowly, once I was able to walk without any pain, without feeling any twinge in my bottom. I started with 2K, I mean, not even 2K, it was like 1K jog, and then slowly resumed. And I remember it was September 8th, I think. October 8th was the half
Event,
marathon.
yeah.
September 8th, I resumed, started again. I at this point of time, I kept it all open. I was not going to go for, I was not even sure if I was going to complete the run. So I did not want to say I signed up uh, for my friend. I want to do it at any cost. No, that I did not have that in place. If I am able to walk, that is good enough. So, but I wanted to take it day by day. I wanted to also not give up, right?
Right.
I wanted to see if I can run 2K. If I wanted to see the next day, after a day, I wanted to see if I can run 3K. So like that, I kept increasing the distance, not the pace. So I was able to run 5K, no problem. So I slowly increased it. I think a couple of weeks in, I managed 10K. Then slowly I felt better. I thought, okay, maybe it is possible still to actually do the half marathon. So I went the next week. I went 15K, uh, but 2 weeks out the marathon from marathon, I went and did a 20K with friends around Kabni
Right.
Mark, and that gave me confidence. It was slow, but I was no, there was no pain, so that gave me confidence. So I said, okay, I will do. There are no sub two goals now, nothing like that. So I said, I will go and do this.
And I remember speaking to you that time, and you were saying, like, what should be done? I'm like, dude, you signed up for just finishing it, right?
Yeah.
And I think you told me, Dipankar, what is your marathon PB? I'm like, 154 sorts. And then you said, I was actually targeting 153. And yeah, this kind of a pace I should be able to maintain. I
Exactly,
said,
because this was before
I,
getting injured, of
yeah.
course.
And then after that, later when I spoke to you, I'm like, no, dude, just 2 hour finish. Happily just do it. 2 hour, 10 minutes, how long it takes, just do it.
Yeah, yeah. So I said no, no more, sub two goals or anything like that. I just wanted to finish. So that's what I, did. But 3 days before the marathon, I, started feeling something in the throat,
Yeah.
and I know that feeling. So it was the onset of throat infection. So I said, let me do saltwater gargles. So I was managing through saltwater gargling. It was fine. I would wake up with sore throat and gargle, and I'd be fine. Before sleeping, I would gargle, and be fine. So even on the day of the marathon, half marathon, I woke up with the same thing. I gargled, and I said, "Okay, let's go." I did not want to say, I don't want to do this, right? Because I came this far, I overcome came this injury. I said, "Okay, let me do this." Even on when I went to the start line, I was not able to take a gulp, and it was hurting. But I said, no, that's okay. So I started my run slowly, but the mistake I did, I don't know if it is a mistake or maybe in a blessing in disguise. I started running, and third choral. This is my first official half marathon, right? There is no timing certificate for me, so it was the last group, and we stood at the last of the last group.
Okay.
It was like such a ocean of runners, and we were trying to maintain whatever 6 minute pace or whatever. We had to waddle through a sea of runners, like go, 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 go. And Shankar was there. He was running, and we thought, okay, at the start of the run, we said, okay, Shankar, I will try to run together. But that guy was taking off
Right.
like
Yeah.
6 minute pace through the, it was difficult to follow someone while,
Yes, zigzagging through the
while
crowd.
zigzagging to the crowd, right? Well, luckily my shoelace came off. So I stopped. So I stopped to tie my shoelace, and Shankar disappeared. Boom. So, Shankar disappeared, and I tied my shoelace and started doing my 6:30 pace or whatever, and kept going. And I was trying to stay with another friend, office colleague, Vishwa, and he was also, I felt he was also a little bit too fast for me, because I decided I will go by my feel. I wanted to complete it, so I wanted to be feeling reasonably comfortable doing it. So I kept running. I backed off, trying to keep pace with him. um, and when I stopped for water at the 4K mark, I trying to sip water. I couldn't again gulp. Right? I was like, okay, this is not, but let's keep it aside and try to. So I gulped the water painfully and kept running, and actually it got better. My throat started feeling better. Because of the just observing the people around or just immersing myself into the run, I forgot about the throat pain. So it got better actually as the run went off. And I kept, I was looking at the pace. It was 6:30 pace, 6:20, 6:30 kind of pace. But I was mostly looking at how I am feeling, if I am able to sustain this through the entire course. I took a gel at 10 kilometers mark, and then sipped some water and kept running. Then did another gel at 16K, then kept running. And it actually felt harder as 18, 19. It felt harder, but I said we came this far. Not, don't stop. Don't walk. Just keep running. Keep running.
So you jogged and ran and finished the entire thing.
Yeah, yeah, I did not stop. I at least maybe slowed down or stopped a little bit at the water stations, and apart from that, I kept running. And I took 2 hours 15 minutes, but 2 hours 15 minutes 12 seconds. Okay.
Okay. Okay, we should not ignore that one. Yes.
Yeah. So I crossed the finish line, and I did not experience the runner's high that I experienced during my first half
Half
marathon.
Yeah.
But I felt relieved.
Awesome.
Yeah. So
Congratulations to you.
thank you, thank you. So it felt good that I was able to finish the run, because just 1 month prior to few weeks back, I was not even able to walk, right? And it was no one else's fault apart from my own fault, my own stupidity, my own greediness, trying to do too much too soon.
Good to hear BikeyVenky can be greedy.
Of course, of course, of course.
Greedy for food, greedy for pace, greedy for speed. Okay.
Right, yeah. So yeah, that's how my first half marathon went.
Awesome.
Awesome. So that's that. So I want to keep running. I want to.
I was coming to that question
Yeah.
next. So tell us what is your learning from your half marathon experience that you would like to carry forward and try and avoid that for the future.
Yeah. So the learning from my first half marathon is that, yeah,
Official half marathon.
first official half marathon is that
At
be
an age
patient.
of
46.
okay.
Be patient. Running is not cycling. Uh, Being aerobically fit doesn't mean your running muscles are fitter to take that pace. So continue to work on the strength, continue to work on flexibility, continue to run at least a couple of days a week.
Are you doing that now?
Yeah, right now, as I said, that the bronchitis,
Right.
the throat infection that came on that day resulted in bronchitis, and it is still going on
Oh,
now,
okay.
3 weeks later.
Ah.
I am just getting out of that right now. The phlegm is still there, but it is a lot better now. So yeah, I want to take these learnings
Yeah,
and
next event.
yeah,
And hopefully not make the same mistakes. What are the 3 mistakes of running?
going too soon,
Not too soon,
yeah, too much too soon.
too much, too fast, too far,
Okay.
and doing that too soon.
Uh,
So, what's your next running aim? Do you have something?
I don't know. There is a chance that I might do Mumbai in Jan.
Okay.
It is that registrations are closed, but I'm trying to see if
Trying,
there
yeah.
is a
So, working at
way.
podcast connections.
I don't know. Let us see there are any corporate ways
Yeah.
or something like that. If it is possible, I might end up doing that. Otherwise, we will see. What I want to do is I want to continue the running maybe twice a week or something like that, and continue cycling. more importantly, continue the strength and flexibility aspect of it,
That's
so
right.
that I can continue to ride and run stronger. That is what those are the learnings from my first half marathon, official half marathon.
Awesome. Good to hear that, Venky.
All
And
right.
I wish you all the very best for your second official half marathon when that happens. Hopefully, without mistakes and hopefully without getting injured. And that you get your runner's high.
Yeah, yeah.
And hopefully, that doesn't, okay, I shouldn't say it in any wrong way. I don't mean it in a wrong way. But it's not because you needed a why to do that, but as part of your regular healthy routine
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah, yeah.
like you do every BBCH cycling races.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm doing it for
You had enough losses in the last couple of years.
Yes, that's good. Yeah, let's do it for myself. Do it.
Yes, do it for
Staying healthy, staying strong. So yeah, thank you for taking the time and chatting and listening to my all the boring stories.
Thank you, Venky, for letting me rag you a little bit. It was a nice first time I'm hosting a podcast with an experienced professional podcaster with 2+ years of experience. So thank you for the opportunity, Venky.
Thanks, Dan.
Okay, goodbye. Goodbye, guys. Goodbye.
That was my running journey as interviewed by Dipankar. I hope you enjoyed that. If you are enjoying this podcast, please consider supporting the podcast by subscribing to it on YouTube as well as on your favorite podcasting apps. Thanks again for your continuous support. See you next week with another guest.